older one. I can't see that's or that's
I'll do it. He's muted. Microphone. Yeah, I've.
you don't look good.
There's that. What's me?
Can this.
Um, I think that's yeah. I just said that she. Oh, we're gonna drive to. Oh. It's on Sunday. You and everyone else. I'm everyone's token Bills fan. Don't feel like Kyle Ferris still hasn't talked. What happened with Bill Tom and he takes 4 strings in a row. I never responded to me.
On vacation now. He should find her.
Fine.
Fine.
How's it going? How's it going? That's good.
Now
That was lovely.
Mr. Enders, roll call.
Mr. Allen,
Present.
Mrs. Calhoun,
Here.
Ms. Stoller,
Here.
Miss Edwards,
Here.
Mrs. Grant. Mr. Kinley,
Here.
Mrs. Petrowski,
Here.
Mrs. Stemler, Mrs. Thomas.
Here.
8 members present, 1 absent.
Okay, the Pledge of Allegiance.
I'm gonna call forward Mr. Armbruster to introduce some middle school students.
Good evening, board. Tonight I have with me, guys, if you want to come on up, we have 2 members of our middle school FBLA, and we're right in the midst of our food drive. So we have Nate Thompson and Grace Comfer with us tonight. If you guys want to step up front there.
Go ahead. Flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Don't go away, I have something for you. And then,
And your principal will take a picture.
hold on, Mr. Armbruster's gonna take a picture. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Coming out on this cold night. Next, we want presentations, communications, Dr. Ulmer.
Nothing for this evening?
President's report, we had an executive session was held before the meeting at 5:45 for the purpose of legal personnel and safety. IU report. And our student rep is not here this evening. So moving on to courtesy of the floor. There is no one signed up, so moving on to personnel. Huh? Oh, I even drew the line and because I had it at the top of the page. I need to draw it from here. Superintendent's report.
I'm going to start by recognizing Serena Henry to talk about football helmets and pads for the 23-24 season. Well, actually 23-24 budget, but fall 2023 season. I did give them a little bit of background in my update last week, but go ahead.
It's simple. Every year we order new helmets to recycle the ones that are old, broken, and need replaced. And Riddell offers a special deal in the fall. If you buy 12, you get 2 free. We do the same thing for shoulder pads, where we can get 12, 2 free. We place the order now. We can get it on the list to be shipped and pay for it July 1st. And it's already budgeted in next year's budget. So
So
can I create a PO now and pay for it later?
So in my understanding, because of the way the supplies are coming in, they're basically asking you to do this now, or they just send out a thing, say, okay, here's a deal for you if you want to start.
They do it every year, and it's just, with last year, we bought 45 at the same time, so we didn't qualify for it. But this year, when it came due, if you stay on the 14 purchase schedule, you're always recycling them. You're getting the new helmets as the old ones when they go back to reconditioning. When we recondition our helmets, we don't ever see the ones that aren't recertified.
Okay.
They go and we don't ever get them back. So this replaces those ones that are eventually worn out, don't come back to us. And if we purchase them now, we get free ones, which the quote that we were given, the savings is $2,100. If we jump on board now, get it, then we can also get them August when we need them. I'm still waiting for items that we ordered in July to come that haven't come yet. So, I'm just saying, I'm asking for a yes.
So it's in essence, so what Serena's asking for is you would allow her to obligate a purchase now that would be in her 23-24 budget. You would have to approve that at the next meeting if you chose to allow her to do that.
So is this the, I mean, is this a regular occurrence every
Yes,
year?
yes.
Are you? So I guess my question is, funds you have budgeted for helmets for this year, equipment. I'm not gonna call them helmets, just football equipment for this year, were funds that you use for your current season equipment, correct? That, when we talked about this, that was my understanding.
The money spent this school year,
The budget amounts for this year were for,
the large portion, was for part of the large portion that we purchased last year. Yes. That came in August this year.
because there's two ways we could do this board. One of the things we could do is I'll call it like a one-off or a one-time purchase for this year, and using this year's funds, using this year's budget, and it will hit your books in the 22-23 school year. And then that would set Serena up in her budget cycle, that when she would be putting her 23-24 budget together, that you would be looking at, it would be actually purchases and obligations, but they would be used till the 24 fall season. So, I mean, you can do two different ways. You can do this purchase order every year. The concern I have is you're going to be coming to your across your desk
Every year.
every year, probably about the same time.
Mhm.
Or you could do almost what I would call a one-off, and this year, it's gonna set her up in a cycle where she's going to be able to purchase using the budget funds for the next football season. Does that make sense to everyone? I see some nodding heads, yes. So it's up to you, you can do both ways, but the way I would recommend you do it is do a one-time purchase this year, and then we'll set her budget cycle up, so she's budgeting every year to make this purchase in the fall.
So I wouldn't purchase them when I normally purchase them. I would hold off and purchase them when this comes through. Just write the purchase order because it's already been budgeted and set in place.
And from an audit standpoint, the auditors probably like to see if you've incurred a debt in a single year you're paying for.
Oh, I was gonna say, why is this a debt that would be assumed in the 23-24 budget when she could have that in her budget and use it in the fall of 23-24? Like, why is like a future money why is it not recognized in the budget for that current year? Like, if she's,
So the monies that I already had set aside for this year, we used for the helmets that came in August.
but they were purchased within this budget, like the 22-23, we had
Right.
budgeted for that
Yeah.
season.
Yeah, and we did that purchase order last March, I think it was. I came and asked to create that purchase order in March to have them. We had them for the season.
But is this the first time, are you doing, is this question tonight the same thing as the question was last year, March? Is
Yes.
this-
Kind of so, yes. The one in March was more of a big bulk order because we bought 45 helmets at once, where this is to recycle them through every year.
If I remember correctly, Serena, from the situation in March, that was, if I'm just saying, if I remember correctly, that was very much a supply chain driven decision
Yes.
that you were very
Yes.
concerned about getting helmets here in time
Yep.
for August 1st
Yep.
spring training.
Yep.
Well, also the board directed her that we want us buying the helmets and not the kids buying their own helmets.
Right. Yeah.
So in doing so, you
Between
had to
that
make it,
and this,
in
yeah.
doing so, you had to make a large purchase, so we have to be careful that they all don't run out at the same time, that we have to have them totally, so by
Right.
doing a 14 a year, you're trying to get a cycle going.
Yeah, yes.
But doing the purchase order and actually, when the purchase is actually made, when the helmets are delivered, are you saying we're gonna have 2 fiscal years?
The purchase order, I would probably put the purchase order into this fiscal year solely to obligate the district of the funds, if the board would approve it. What Serena was suggesting is we wouldn't be invoiced and we wouldn't take ownership of them until after July 1st. That would put it into next fiscal year, because all the purchase order would do is get moved over into the next fiscal year.
So the company understands with working with school districts that you're working on that July 1st budget. So they work with the school districts. So if you want to order and get your order in now, they won't bill you until July 1st.
So all we're doing is getting our order in now, but really everything is gonna hit the books in 23, 24.
That's scenario A. I would say scenario B, which would be my recommendation to you all. Like I said, I'll call it a one-off. Give her approval to purchase this, obligate the funds outside of her budget, because they're unbudgeted. It's an unbudgeted expenditure. That will put her in a cycle within her budget. As we're going forward, the amount that she puts in the 23-24 budget would be the amount that she would be doing the same process now, a year from now, but she'd be using the 23-24 funds to do that. If not, we're going to be in this cycle where we're doing this every year.
Yeah, I would agree with that, and one of the advantages, we get 2 free.
Yeah, when they run this program so that it to encourage us to do it now. You know, if you buy 12, you get the 2 free, and that's part of their incentive to do it. They do it both the shoulder pads and the football helmets.
What would be the total cost for those 12 plus 2 free if the board decided to do the one-off, which I do really like, now?
The quote they sent us included the shoulder pads, because we had, when we recycled the shoulder, when we reconditioned the shoulder pads last time, they recycled about 11 out. So it also includes buying 12 shoulder pads, getting 2 free, and buying 12 helmets, getting 2 free. The total quote comes out to $7,291.95.
And our savings is, you say 2,100?
Off of the catalog price. That's how they have it listed.
So is the board comfortable voting at the next meeting on the plan of obligating that $7,290 now, and then we can budget the cycle going forward?
Obligating and buying,
Right,
yeah.
sorry.
The
I
one
should say-
time, yeah,
Yeah.
to get us in this cycle, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right,
Thank you.
appreciate it. Kids love their helmets.
They look great. I also have on my report, policy 810, transportation. I did put that in an update I think it was last week. I had discussed with all of you that our transportation policy that was on the books had not been looked at in quite a long time. So with Dr. Osenbach here and been here for a couple months now, I asked her to take a look at that, and there were a number of PSBA suggested changes that you can see in red. Does anybody have any questions or feedback about that updated policy? If you don't have them tonight, that's okay. You can let us know. What we will do then is put this on a future agenda for a first read. All right, thank you, that's my report.
No one signed up for courtesy of the floor. Moving on to personnel. We have an employment contract between Dixie Brandt and Jersey Shore Area School District regarding extracurricular exception requirement because of the Public School Employees Retirement Code. Accepting a letter of resignation from Gabrielle Boner and Benjamin Comfort, girls head and assistant soccer coaches. We have job descriptions for the, is this first read?
They
Oh, no, they
only
don't
get-
have a first
yep.
read. This, to accept, for the library gifted support teacher, guidance secretary job, and maintenance employee. We have an appointment of Lisa Enders as part-time food service substitute. We have the 2022-2023 club advisor stipends for both the high school and middle school. Extension of an FMLA for employee 2022-23-07. We have a medical leave without pay for employee 2022-23-09. Kyle Kehoe as a volunteer wrestling coach, accepting a letter of resignation from Lindsey Johnson, learning support paraprofessional. Appointment of Christopher Brass to a full-time network computer technician specialist. Appointment of Caden Funk to a lifeguard position. And this is for the swim team, right? Or and they have to have an official lifeguard on for swim practices. Appointment of Garen Scheller to the position of full-time custodian at the high school. Appointment of Tiffany Bilby to position of full-time custodian. You didn't say where that's at. Is she a floater or?
We would have to assign her.
Oh, we
because
haven't
have
assigned her yet,
multiple
okay.
openings.
Positions and stipend for the high school drama production of A New Style for Murder as per the Jersey Shore contract. And may I have a motion for A through Q?
So moved.
I'll second.
Any questions?
I'd just like to disclose to the board that letter G is my aunt, and I did excuse myself from that interview and that entire hiring process. So trying to be transparent.
Any other questions or statements?
Thought I heard a question over here.
The O and P, the difference in rates, do you know why that might be?
Years of experience, I believe. I sat in on this. I know Dr. Issenbach sat in on O and I sat in on P. She had a significant number of years
Okay,
of experience.
yep, okay, thank you.
So I had a question on the clubs. Is it possible in the future to, when you list them down and send them to us, to have the number of students that participate? And I was also curious if we have any kind of policy at all in place for like the least amount of students. Is there like a minimum number that's required to have a club? Or if it's just one or
I
two
don't
students?
think that's
Not in the present time.
anywhere in policy. But I can ask for a number of participants, but I don't think, I can ask that, but I don't think there's anywhere in writing where it says there's a,
Needs to be
like
a.
a threshold.
Mhm. Okay, thank you.
And some of these, depending on what they are, may not totally be formed for the year yet, so you'll be getting last year's numbers, but that's nothing wrong with that. I'm just saying, they might not be the present numbers.
Okay.
Dr. Homer, I just opened up the attachment for the clubs. Do we need a correction on the outdoor club on that stipend? Be $133.
Are you in middle school or high school?
I'm at the high school club listing. Second page, fourth club down, so outdoor club. They're in alphabetical order. It looks like there's 3 advisors, but we have them listed as $100 a piece. I think that's supposed to be $133.33.
That's what the other ones are. Or are they considering the having a fourth person or something? Here,
Hold on, I'm almost there. High school.
You like your other one?
Yeah, I think it should be corrected.
So it's $400 for the whole club and how it's
Right.
split up
Right.
is the issue, yeah.
I would say correct the motion to make that 133. Thank you. That was a good catch.
Did anybody on the board sit in on letter M interview? And is this, I know a while ago we had talked about, like, there were 2 part-time positions, like, is this eliminating any of those, or?
This is maintaining your your 4 full-time people. Remember, we just recently had a full-time resignation, so this would be the replacement of that.
Is there any difference in salary?
There is, because the person that resigned would not have finished the degree and moved to Act 93 until July 1. This person has the degree already, so is at that level currently.
And has experience, well, it has experience in the technology field.
Am I allowed to ask Pat what he thinks?
What did you say?
I said, am I allowed to ask Pat what he thinks?
As far as what, whether he wants this person or what?
No, I mean, as far, yeah, okay. Well, I mean, is going to be his employee if he feels he's qualified and.
Any other questions?
Before we vote, could we just confirm on the record that Mrs. Calhoun and Mr. Allen amend the motion
Oh.
accordingly?
Are you
Did you
okay?
get that, Ben?
Yes.
I have the amendment, yeah, as long as they're okay with it.
Making sure we got the record.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Not in favor, like sign. Motion carries. Curriculum and instruction. We have an MOU between Blast IU-17 and Derbyshire School District for a licensed social worker for up to 10 days a month. And we have an articulation agreement between Triangle Tech and Derbyshire Area School District for 22-23 school year. That one probably can use a little bit of an explanation. Who wants to give just a summary?
With the Triangle Tech, that is specifically for our construction trades program at the high school. And that agreement is memorializing that if a kid comes out of construction trades, they could go to Triangle Tech. And if you read that agreement, there are specific courses at Triangle Tech that our graduates would get credit for already having completed. I did just get another one today. It's going to be on the December 5th agenda. That is also, that's a different university specific to the program, but there will be one coming on December 5th for our manufacturing engineering program that will be very similar. You graduate from the program, you will get credit for certain courses at the university level.
May I have a motion for A and B?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Any questions? Seeing or hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Not in favor, like sign. Motion carries. Building and grounds, there's no discussion items. Moving on to finance. We have a resolution to comply with Act 57 of 2022. We have an agreement with the U.S. Employee Benefits Service Group for ACA reporting for 2022. We have an agreement with SPDG Middle School Success Path to Graduation, and that the administration conduct business and pay appropriate district invoices with confirmation at the next available regular board meeting. May I have a motion for A through D? Second?
I'll second.
Do we have any questions?
Yeah, I have a question on the ACA reporting. I'm going back a year now, did we have a proposal this time a year ago?
Yes, we had discussed it, to do ACA reporting with Conrad Siegel. I believe the quote a year ago was either $5,000 or $6,000. I did follow up with Conrad when we learned in September that the software was no longer able to do it, and their quote was about the same.
So this, okay. Have they been performing those services?
This, I think I
Conrad
addressed
Siegel.
this, no, the software company that we have been using, the financial software.
Oh, doing it
That
internally.
company has been doing it.
Internally.
Yes, we've been doing it internally using our software system.
Gotcha.
This year, they had notified us in September that the software was no longer going to be able to do it.
So now we're contracting it out.
They have, yes, and the contractor that we're using, that we chose, is the one that the software company is recommending and is saying that their software, that's going to be compatible.
So is there a net cost if, instead of buying or using the software, I mean, is there a change in?
Or cost of our software? Conveniently not. I had the same question.
So it's the same?
Yeah, we signed our contract. You approved the contract with CSIU for the accounting software, I think in June.
Okay,
We signed that, submitted it, and we've actually already paid the bill for the entire year.
okay.
So, yes, Conrad reported or gave us a quote this year. Well, they said it's the same in the 2 years. It was $6,850 is what Conrad quoted us doing this process.
But we're not using it.
We are not using that.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Not in favor, like sign. Motion carries. Miscellaneous items. Music boosters to install a plaque on the Thompson Street Stadium bleachers as presented at the October 24th, 2022 board meeting. The plaque can remain in place while the district establishes a memorial wall. The following out-of-state field trip is April 11th of 2023 to Baltimore, Maryland, to the National Aquarium with approximately 100 students and chaperones listed. And to approve a statement of rights and waiver of hearing for student 22-23-04 dated November the 1st, 2022. May I have a motion for A through C?
So moved.
Second.
Questions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Not in favor, like sign. Motion carries.
I do want to point out before you move on that I did just receive a message from Kathy Eisner thanking the board. She was planning to be here tonight. She's the one who presented about the plaque, but she's in, she had another obligation, so she sent a message to say thank you.
Do they know we are going to do it?
I had that conversation with her, yes.
All right, letter I, old business, follow-up discussion from work sessions. All right, we have now had 2 work sessions and the board has heard several scenarios. It is time to continue the conversation. The 2 work sessions that we have can be summarized to the following choices. And these aren't in any order, but one choice is no change. This basically saves no money. Reconfiguration One scenario is Jersey Shore Area Elementary is K-3, Avis 4, and Salisbury 5. Another scenario is Jersey Shore Elementary K-3, Avis 4 and 5. Both of these will save a decent amount of money. Or to close schools, one would be to close Salisbury or Avis, close both schools, and both of these will also save money. But they would also add money because we'd have to start construction. The floor to the board is open for discussion.
I would like to pass out a summary of, we have these long detailed lists of the various projects within each building. And what I did is I summarized them so we have a picture of what we're facing for the next 6, 7 years. So
Thank you.
Can anybody give a quick summary of what may have been discussed at the last capital projects committee meeting?
As a relationship to this,
Well, kinda, I mean, like the Salisbury roof was on that agenda, was it not?
yeah, we're waiting for a cost yet.
Okay, so we're still waiting for cost for,
Why doesn't he have that yet?
Yeah,
It just should be updated, correct? The old-
he was gonna get an update, and I believe I'm hoping to be able to give that to you at the next meeting. That was our plan. I don't have it yet.
What is the next meeting, just for the board to know?
December 5th.
So,
I mean, we will definitely.
oh, you mean the next board meeting? I meant the next capital project.
No,
meeting.
no, no, next. Sorry, I don't know what happened to mine.
oh, if I recall, the latest that he had, it's been 2 or 3 months now, I guess, seemed like it was 500 something thousand.
Yeah, it was, the last estimate was about 500 and change.
What I passed out, if you go back to the, not the first page is a summary, but I have 2 pages of HVAC capital projects listed. And these come right off of the detailed list that Dr. Omer and Mark put together probably 6 months ago now. And I did the same thing with the building envelope projects. So the last 2 pages are the building envelope, and the 2 previous pages would be the HVAC. And if you just, I looked out the HVAC capital projects, and they're by building and by year of estimated time. The second page of the HVAC capital projects, you'll notice that the total of all buildings in 22-23 was $1.7 million. Of that, roughly $895,000 was for Salisbury. And if you go across to the total for all years, Salisbury was $1,592,000. And without Salisbury, it's 3.275 million. So that's just the HVAC. And the other biggie is Avis. So Avis and Salisbury is roughly 2.7 million of the 4.867 million. So there's where most of the capital projects are for the HVAC. Now, one number that was missing in previous reports, if you look under HVAC projects on the first page of the HVAC report, under high school, the 983,000 was a zero. That'd be-
983,000 what?
Was zero before
Oh,
because
okay,
we had never gotten numbers.
okay.
Dr. Omer and/or Mark got those a month or so ago. So there were 3 options for the chillers, and I picked the middle one, the moderate. Obviously, the higher the efficiency, the higher the cost. So I used that as the number instead of 0, 983,000. And if you go to the, excuse me, the last 2 pages for the building envelope, again, for 22-23, Avis, 88,000. And for Salzburg, 442,000. And I can tell you right now, that's higher because all these numbers are from the Hunt report. And the very first one, the roof replacement of 366, is now over 500,000. And again, looking at totals, clear to the right, Salzburg total is 663,000, I'm sorry, 683. And Avis is 551,000. Again, they're the 2 biggies. So I showed totals for both reports, the building envelope and the HVAC, with and without Salzburg. And the reason I did that is because one of the scenarios that Dr. Omer put together in our binder, I think it was scenario 1, was to close Salzburg, and it's where we realized the largest annual savings of roughly $1 million. And also because Salzburg is where we would have to put the most capital money into. So the very top page of what I just handed out summarizes by building for each year, both HVAC and building envelope. And again, I have a subtotal about halfway down without Salzburg. For instance, for 22-23, the total would be 923,000. And really that's, for 22-23, it's all Avis, HVAC and building envelope. If you go across all the way to the total is 5.189. So again, that's over the next 6 or 7 years. And that, what I'm trying to point out there is, without Salzburg, we're still faced with 5.1 million of recommended capital expenditures over the next 6 or 7 years. And then the next section will be Salzburg. Salzburg alone is 2.275. So total all buildings, the grand total would be, including Salzburg, clear to the left, 7,464,000. So that from that point up is all HVAC and building envelope. But we also have, if you remember, we've got parking lot repairs to deal with. And they total almost 2.6 million, of which 496 is, it's under the 23-24 column. 496 is for this building, 228 for Avis, 22,000 for JSE, and 446 for Salzburg. But moving across to the next year, 24-25, we have 240 for JSE and 865 for high school. And the safety and security, the 41,000 does not include what we saw in executive session tonight, and that additional amount would be about another 150,000. Athletics, new stadium, 9 million. Other would be the tennis courts and the softball field, et cetera. 3,472,000. Total athletics, 12,530,000. Or a grand total, including everything, is 22,633,000. So, just forgetting for a moment that these numbers are already outdated, but in a relative sense, as far as prioritizing what we would need to do over the next 7 or 8 years, if we did everything, of course, would be 22,833. If you just look at the HVAC and building envelopes, 7.4 million. So it's not only a question of prioritizing, but it's also how are we going to fund these expenditures. And I believe that we've got to think about how we can save money on an annual basis. And I'm going to go back and recommend that we close Salzburg, realize an annual savings of $1 million, and we can start funding some of these expenditures. We have $1 million in our, roughly in our capital projects fund right now. So just if you look at 22, 23, which probably a lot of this stuff is going to be moved, everything's going to slide right, I would guess, pretty much. 22, 23, whether we're even going to be able to do anything is iffy. So just assume we're going to move everything one year to the right, and we do the 22, 23 stuff in 23, 24, we pretty much have, with an annual cost savings of $1 million at Salzburg closing and $1 million in capital projects fund that we have right now, we could fund the 22, 23 expenditures in 23, 24. Now, when I say that, if you go up to the subtotal, we would only need 923,000. So we really have another $1 million, but we need to start building that capital fund balance so we can start. I mean, some of these parking lots are going to need, they're going to need attention soon, and I just don't see how we have right in front of us the opportunity to do something that we can save at least $1 million annually. And our enrollment is going down. For those who continue to say it's not, I put a blurb at the bottom, and you can see the numbers from 2018 to our current year. And what kind of jumps out to me, and me for 22, 23, is our kindergarten class. It's the lowest it's been in the last 4 years. I mean, our total enrollment from 18, 19 to this year is going down 30. Total district is going down 170. I just don't see why we need to keep 3 buildings open with decreasing enrollment. We can still realize low class sizes by using scenario 1 of K through 3, JSE, and 4 and 5 at Avis. You know, if you've been looking at the Sun Gazette the last week or so, Montoursville is facing the same issue. They got a $14 million renovations, I think, for their school. It's called, it's Valley, the one up.
Loyalsong Valley.
Yeah, Loyalsong Valley. And they're in the same dilemma. And they point out they got decreasing enrollment, and it just doesn't make sense to put that kind of money in a school when you got decreasing enrollment. And South Williamsport just had an article within the last week thinking about the similar situation. Again, decreasing enrollment. Williamsport has closed Stevens Elementary School. I just don't think we can keep kicking that can down the road when we have an option right facing us that we can solve part of our financial problem. I think Ben will concur that our fund balance, it keeps decreasing. And we've been operating, our budgets have been in a deficit position the last couple of years. And why would we think that we're going to somehow come out of that situation, especially without raising taxes? I for one, am not going to be able to look any of my people in the eyes. And if we go with a tax increase, when we have a $1 million solution right before us. And I don't think any class size is going to be even close to being problematic if we do some kind of reconfiguration.
Have you looked at 5th grade at Avis? How many classrooms there would be? Only 6. They would all be jammed in there at Avis.
Well, I will defer that question to Dr. Omer because he put together,
No,
and yeah,
I've really tore it apart. I looked at it. I don't see how that can happen. I do not believe those children will fit in there. 6 classrooms. And at the middle school, when they go to 6th grade, there's 8 for the same amount of kids that move from the elementary, 5th grade, to middle school, 6th grade. There's 8 teachers there, and you want to have 6.
Well,
And there's 8 at 4th grade, and then you get to 5th grade, and then, well, you get rid of 2 teachers.
I recommended, that is based on 23-24 projections. There would be 166 kids in 5th grade next year. So if we had 6 sections, the average would be under 25. So they would all be either 24 or 25 kids. And the reason that would be 8 in 4th grade is because that is a larger group. There's 185 kids there I'm sorry, I read the wrong number for 5th grade. Next year, there would only be 149 5th graders. So if you divide them by 6, you get less than 25. The largest group in the district right now is the current third grader, so next year in fourth grade, they would need to be in 8 sections, which would make the average 23. So the year after that, though, in that if they were together in the same building, they would flip. You would need 8 fifth grades, but you would need less fourth grades. So it wouldn't be essentially getting rid of teachers. You would still need those teachers. It would just be, do you need them in fourth grade or do you need them in fifth grade?
Well, why are there 8 teachers in 6th grade at the middle school?
For the team concept, because you have 1 math, 1 science, 1 English, and 1 social studies times 2, and you split the kids in half.
So if we change that, we could save money there. Right?
Technically,
If we change
yes.
that concept. Also, I didn't see where the health class is out there. I don't know where the IU for the multi-disabled. I did not see where, in the kindergarten room, our kindergarten rooms, it would be, we would have to update, and one of them, they're smaller. 5th grade's gonna be in there. Emotional support, paraprofessionals, grade 4 and 5, autistic support. I just, and I really respect you, but I, for this part, because I know this is something everybody's looking at. So I compared, and these are all the problems that I see speech for 4th, 5th. Where would that be?
So right now, speech is in one of the I didn't label it, but the speech teacher uses one of the small rooms off the library. So kind of like to the top of your page, the library is that open area to your left. There's a couple small rooms off the library.
Okay.
That is where speech happens now. It's not labeled, but that's where it happens now.
Okay.
So I did not specify special ed, but there are 3 special ed spaces labeled on your map. They're in blue pen, they kind of stick out. There's 3 different special ed spaces.
Life skills.
Life skills, and then I have 2 special ed. So that would account for,
Carlin is now for the life skills, you would put life skills. I have the Carlin from the IU, excuse me.
so the IU program doesn't have to be in that building.
It doesn't.
Does not. And the reason that I just labeled them, I could have labeled them all 3 special ed, because whoever is in there has to be age appropriate for 4th and 5th grade. So because 4th and 5th graders are there, you can only have the 4th and 5th grade special ed students in that building. So the programs that you need in that building, whether they be life skills, MDS, emotional support, autistic support, it's going to be based on who's actually attending there. So I didn't, knowing that this is projected into next year, I didn't go back and look at everybody's IEP and who has what. I just gave 3 locations, knowing that between life skills, MDS, emotional support, we can put what we need in that building each year based on who the kids are that are in that building.
What about growth? Yeah, every single room here is taken.
So
About growth.
growth based on, I would say growth based on numbers. I look at, so in 4th, your average class size next year in 4th grade would be 23 kids. So you could add, if you said you're going to add 2 kids for every room, you could add 16 kids and still be at 25, which we have some 25s now in 4th grade. Same thing with 5th grade. You're at 24, you're at 25, but we have some 5th grades this year that are higher than that. So you with 6 sections, you could add 6 kids and only add 1 per room. That is where you have your growth potential, is that you can grow within those classes because they're all in the same place. You're not gonna, you add 6 kids right now to Avis. You only have 2 rooms to put them in. Each of those teachers is gonna get 3. If you had 6 kids in a 5th grade with this scenario, each teacher is gonna get 1 kid. That's where your growth potential is. It's gonna be a lot of kids before you need another classroom.
Well, the Title I service, that's,
We don't, right now, title is K1 to K to 3. So our title teachers work in K to 3. So even at Avis and Sal, right, all 3 elementaries, they're only serving K to 3 students. That's how our plan is written. So you don't need to send a title teacher to 4th and 5th grade.
so you'd be busing all those children all over the place.
Have we consulted at all with the busing company to see what routing would look like? As far as, kids, kindergartners from way up Pine Creek coming to just JSE instead of Sal or Avis, or, you know what I mean, like,
So I would say the way that those northern bus routes work, anything above 220 is coming in this direction, picking up kids coming in this direction, stopping at Avis and Sal, and then coming in town, right now only coming in town with high school and middle school kids. So this change should only add 1 more stop. Because they're gonna come from the northern part of the district down into Avis and Sal, one or the other. So if they're coming down 44, they're gonna drop kids off at Avis, come in town. They're already coming in town for high school and middle school. They're gonna come in town for high school, middle school, and JSC. And in the other direction, if they're not dropping kids off at Sal, they're already coming into town. The added mileage there is to go out to Avis. That would be the change.
On the old, not the Hunt, but the one before. What was that called?
Crabtree.
Didn't they do a thing for transportation? Didn't they have that in the? Mary, do you remember? Were you on the board for that?
I don't recall, I didn't read it in detail, but I don't recall transportation being a part of that.
I have it in my notes. I think they did a thing where they would have certain streets and like the high school where it's between certain hours to keep like traffic from being a problem.
I thought there was some kind of a study done with John Sharp. Coming down through there, wasn't there a special other study done? Something with
Like a
transportation?
traffic study?
Yeah,
Was that done in a feasibility study?
I don't know. No,
Oh, okay.
but I'm thinking that it was after it was decided about.
I think that's
One of
true
those
because
schools
it
that-
delayed the
Mhm.
building,
Right.
right? The building.
I don't think they did it.
JSC,
Yeah.
yeah, they had to do that first and it delayed everything, from what I understand.
Right.
I think also you're losing so much if you do that and sending the kids to 3rd grade down to JSC and picking them up, moving them out there to Avis and for the final 2 years, you lose that continuum. The elementary schools, I think, is the most important grades. Get the kids set straight for all their education in the upper grades. And I think that kids have a problem with that. Uprooting them, moving them, they get afraid. I don't think, feel bad.
I think there's pros and cons either way. I mean, look at all the kids that have moved out of the district and gone to other schools where they know nobody, like other states. Kids are what's the word?
More resilient.
Yeah, than we realize. I really do. My daughter has a learning disability and she doesn't do well in change. Brought her from a big school to Jersey Shore, and whenever there was a problem, she would go to the very first teacher, the very first classroom that she had at the high school. And she's a rare. I mean, that's that's like 1 out of 10 parents have, special kids like that. But for the most part, I don't think that, we also have to consider, look at all of us, we don't meet our best friends until middle school anyway, when we're all together. And then when you have kids that have been together from elementary up, they're usually, if they're on a team, they play together since they were little, and they have an extra advantage because they've known each other for so long. I think, we also have to look at the pros, not just the cons, like the pros, like what are the advantages of kids being together that normally would not have been together? Like it was the big day of going to middle school and meeting all the kids from the other school was huge. That was huge for me. And I think it was huge for everybody else to meet everybody from the Valley and everybody from Avis. And I went to Jersey Shore, so I didn't even know half the kids in Saudysburg unless they were farm kids or in 4-H. So, I do think kids, thank you very much, Wayne, for the word, are more resilient. And, I also think that, for me, being in the country, that was when I came to town. We didn't come to town too often. We weren't allowed to come to town. We weren't, I would never have been allowed to walk down Allegheny Street ever. And we never really had a reason to go to town unless we had to go to the grocery store. I mean, it's farming. But, I think there's some benefits for kids that would never get the opportunity to know each other. So I just want to say that there are also some pros to kids that would normally not.
I'm sure there's a lot of studies out there on that.
Well,
Another study. Yeah.
Do some research on it.
no, I mean, studies that we're doing. Well, I know with my grandson, he's in 5th grade now, so this will be his last year at Saudysburg. But I mean, the teachers commend him and the other students too, that they're in 5th grade and they go down and help the 1st grade and 2nd grade, tutor them in math, and those kids have really benefited from that. I mean, they want to get Noah, because he really has a thing with the kids that he really helps them too. And you're not going to be able to really have 3rd graders going down to help, So I think that's really going to be something that would be missed.
I think we need to talk to the teachers, get their input. I don't want to do anything to hurt the kids. I don't care so much about them. I give them the best start in their lives that we can, and that's the elementary schools.
Well, I don't think that this is going to hurt them one bit. If nothing else, this is going to benefit them because in times past and in our current situation, we don't have a flow of steady income, but we certainly have a flow of steady expenditures. And so if you look at it from that standpoint, we have an opportunity, like Mr. Kinley said, which, by the way, Mr. Kinley, I think what you presented tonight was very clear, very precise. It gives us a great view of what actually we have to do concerning every building that this district owns. It's not a matter of not doing it. It's a matter of, is it going to be done this year, next year, or the year to come? So you're going to have to spend money to make the amends that need to be done. And so we have an opportunity to save $1 million and most likely more than that. And the best thing about it is we're not getting rid of the building. So if we were to use scenario 1 and close Southeastburg and move to Avis for the 4th and 5th grade, if things did not actually pan out the way we were hoping, there's nothing lost in essence. The children are not going to receive a lesser education in a different building. We always have that building to revert back to if necessary. I think that not giving it a trial run would be the worst thing that we could possibly do, because therefore we're voting to not be proactive in helping ourselves. And that's exactly what we need. I don't think the majority of us here actually want to raise taxes on our own community members or upon ourselves. And so this would be the best scenario. And in my eyes, it's a win-win. We're not losing anything. This is an opportunity to try something that I think could be extremely beneficial. Not just in the financial realm either. I just want to commend you, Mr. Kinley. I think this was, I know this was a lot of time and effort. So thank you very much, because it shows, I mean, it does. It shows that you care and you're concerned about where we're going financially as a board in the future. But again, I can't stress enough, like, we're going to have to spend money to fix issues.
Mr. Kinley, I have 2 questions. You have on here the 22-23 summary, but it does not include what we have done in the high school and middle school, what we've already spent
Correct,
this year.
correct.
And also, why is there nothing under the column 26, 27, or 27, 28? But you have moved past those years to 29 and 30.
This summary is a result of Dr. Ulmer and Mark Wall presenting to the Capital Projects Committee, taking not every hunt recommendation, because they cut that in half.
Some of them out.
Cut that in half roughly. And they're the ones that identified the ones that they felt were top priority, and they assigned the years to do each one of those projects. The sheets that follow, you were all given the detail of what I presented in the last 4 pages. All I did is summarize those. I thought it was good to show it this way by year, as opposed to the detailed list that had the years, just one right after another. This way we can see each year what, if we went by this, what we would target each year that we needed to do.
So my only, I guess, observation to that is, again, even with Dr. Ulmer and Mark's input, they are still recommendations, not requirements. So this is not set in stone as far as dates, and amounts of money obviously are changing. But so things can be moved. So in 1 year, we might not be spending $2.26 million. Like that could change. So
I mean,
that was just an observation that.
and the
Yeah, and
point,
a couple comments, because I think it was you about why none in 26, 27, and you answered why not in 27, 28. This makes a much clearer picture than looking through all those papers. So thank you for that. But the other thing that was said is, 22, 23 is basically, we're gonna have to slide all those over 1 year. So I'm just gonna throw this out. How far can we actually slide over, and can we readjust in some of those? Because once you get our fund balance paid off, you have $2.5 million that you can spend every year. And if you look at these end of the year things, none of them are above that. So can we wait? I'm not answering that question because I don't know yet. There's some we probably can't wait on, and there's some that we can. The other thing was, one was recommendation that we close Salisbury. Another one made the statement that, well, we're not losing anything. So there's like two things. As my understanding from the conversations that we've had before, and some is that if we would try this scenario, as Michelle was saying, we wouldn't close the school. There'd be a reconfiguration for the lack of a better word. Let's do some, what's the word when you try something? Yes, let's try some pilots here. Not get rid of that school until we know that it's safe or not safe to do it, because of whether we have some growth spurts or whether we don't have some growth spurts. You might end up in a situation where you end up, at some point we might say, yeah, we have to build something different, or maybe we build another partial school, but that's down the road. And so if we have that building sitting there, are there things that we can use it for? And I know there's been some conversation with Dr. Ulmer, and I don't know if other people have been having conversations, but I know the last conversation I had was one of the things, what can we put out there? One of the things that maybe we can look at our gym space and things of that sort, and can we move some of that to eliminate some of the tightness in the buildings? And the example that I threw out, and I just threw that example out in conversation, what if we take the elementary wrestling and take it out of JSE and put it at Salisbury, where the gym is, my understanding, twice as big as what the area that they have now, and that frees up that building in town for whatever. And is there other uses that can happen? Because you don't want to totally let the building set empty, but you can really curtail back a lot of what you have out there. Am I wrong on that? I mean, is that something that we can consider? And he's talking $1 million on the building. We also have to look at the money that we save as the staff decreases. And the staff decreases, we've always in this district tried to do it through attrition. And you're going to have retirement. So you're going to have retirement. I don't think that there's a year ever gone by that you haven't had some retirement. So you're going to gain money there. So we look at the whole picture, we look at the broad picture. It doesn't sound to me at this point that anybody wants to just simply close both schools. That might be something we can take off the table and then continue to have discussions like really what's necessary and how fast is it. This looks like a nice breakdown to kind of even out the thing.
Yeah, but I got some questions about all of this because.
Well, you should have.
Okay. In the October meeting you guys had for capital projects, you had asked for bids for the roof replacement. And that was stated that you would have them in 2 weeks, which I don't know that you ever got them, did you?
No, you did not, and I apologize. I did try to reach out to Mr. Wall.
Oh, so now if it's your $500,000, okay, that's what, 1.5 times more than what it was before, or something like that. All right. If we're going to shut that building down and not technically use it for classes, but maybe wrestling or whatever, you still have to maintain that building. So you're still going to have the cost of maintenance on that building, which means you're going to have to put the roof on it to use it.
Well, you make the assumption, okay, there's no kids out there. Why do we have to fix something that's not broke? At some point, if it leaks and does that, you're going to have to do it, but it might be 5 years down the road. Do you immediately put a new roof on yours when your warranty's out? I don't.
I don't either, but the point is, if it goes out tomorrow, obviously we're fixing it.
Oh, right? I agree. But
And it might last 5 years, it might not last 5 years, all right? But the point that I'm making is you didn't get what you asked for in the 2 week time frame, which he's guessing at what the cost is gonna
Right.
be at this point. If you close it down and just use it for whatever, you're still gonna have to run the boilers, you're gonna have to do all that other stuff, which is costly, because you're gonna run, natural gas or whatever. I think it's natural gas out there. But anyhow, you gotta maintain all that stuff. So we're not completely taking our finances away from that place, or we're not saving as much as what it appears. Okay, now, if you say it costs $1 million a year to run the place.
Well, the $1 million savings, 835 was personnel.
Right.
It's only 100,000 for currently what we budget for utilities, maintenance, et cetera.
Right. So back when I did this whole thing myself, I had come up with, the operating cost would be $100,000 a year to run that place, just to turn the heat on and all of that. So.
That's kind of what he's agreeing with you
Right.
there.
So you have $100,000 that you're gonna spend no matter what out there. If we just put it dormant or whatever you wanna say, you're still gonna have to keep the heat on or drain everything in the building and try to keep it winterized. But, that was one of my concerns, because I don't see us saving a lot of money that way if we're gonna keep using it, even if nobody's there. Let me go back here real quick. I had some other, so if we're shutting that down, where is the guarantee where's that money going? That $1 million? Where is it actually going to be saved at? What account are we putting it in?
Well,
So how do we know we're gonna have $1 million every year to spend on something, to fix something?
well, somebody in administration ran the numbers as far as reducing the number of teachers, a
Yeah,
a building secretary, all the benefits.
right, but where, that physical money, where is it going? What account is that money going into? Is it going into capital projects?
Well,
Or where's it gonna go?
that's one place that we can say that is needed.
I realize that.
Because
You would,
right now, we have no money. You only have 2 or 3 choices. You borrow,
Right,
you start savings,
right.
$1 million a year, whatever, or you don't do some of this stuff.
But my point is where's the savings account at? What is the savings account that we're using for that money? So that we can track that, yep, this year we got $1 million, we saved $1 million.
Okay,
So
well,
how do we know that?
when we budget, we could say, okay, just suppose in 23, 24, we close Salzburg. We don't sell the building. We have at least $800,000 or $900,000 of, when we do the budget, that we will not spend on salaries and benefits.
Okay,
We could take action to move that money into the capital projects fund.
You can also budget a capital project.
Yes. Yes.
I'm just trying to get
Which
it
we
clear.
used to do and don't do anymore. That always upset me.
Well, and we've tried to identify, for instance, I don't know how the audit's going, but just suppose there's $300,000 excess revenue over expenses. We can take, we can take action to say, we want to move that over into the capital projects fund, as an example.
Which you did last year.
Yeah,
Right,
so, I mean,
but I'm just trying to get a way to say that we can track this so we know.
yes.
That's what I'm trying
The
to.
worst thing that could happen is that we save $1 million a year and we don't know where it went. And
Yes, that's.
And that's what
my
you're
point.
saying, Mike.
Yes.
And I think this is a personal issue, that I think we have to do a combination of both. Like you said about capital, I think there should be some of that we definitely put in capital projects. That's easier to track than probably any of the other ones, but we still have to, and that's a conversation that you can have as we start to do the budget. How are we gonna track what the actual savings is? And because it all goes into one big pot and all comes out. Spent,
and
spent.
and I do,
Well, it goes back to what Mr. Thomas said about the savings through attrition, if that's the avenue you can go on. We certainly can tell you, we can tell you 2 different scenarios, one actual of the cost of the retiring teacher that's not being replaced with the actual, that person's actual dollars and cents. And you also do the hypothetical that we talk about every year during the budget cycle of, you know, we're budgeting a unknown person out there as a B1 and a special ed as an M1. I mean, that's our standard go-to. So that's the two different numbers that you would have and is as quote unquote your savings.
Well, I'd like to point out too that the, say it's 500,000 now for the roof, and it could be more next month, but that's the same for any of these things on here. Every single thing on here could be 1.5 times more than what is on the paper.
But that, to me, that's why it's important that we start doing something now, because these prices are gonna go up. So to me, that's more of an argument to try to save money.
But you don't think that in 2030, when our debt's paid off, that things might have gone back to a little bit of normalcy where things aren't so high?
Oh, I have no idea. I mean, I wish I could project that. But there's certain things that we know now. We know now that we can save $800 or $1 million a year. That's a known.
I have two questions.
And we know our enrollment's going down. I mean, those are two facts
On
that
this
we
number,
cannot
Wayne,
ignore.
was this from what point did you get this number? The October 1st number or?
Yes.
Okay. Because kids move in and out of the district all the time. You never know when the mower's gonna move in or when someone's gonna move out. Okay.
And by 2030, you might have a lot more people that have moved in with West Company and
Well, back when this binder was put together, somebody, if you look at the enrollment section, which is the very first, somebody projected that we would have 1,004 students if you add up the 22-23 enrollment, and we actually have 966. Kindergarten was projected at 168, we have 144. I'm just saying, there's certain things that we know. And we can look at, we can say 2 years from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, yeah, they may all be. But before I even got on the board, I would come to meetings before the last time the board voted. And it was, oh, maybe in a couple years it'll be different or better. It hasn't gotten better. And now we have the Hunt proposal or the study, and we've identified all these capital expenditures that need attention. Now is not the time to go out and float a bond. Unfortunately, we missed, hopefully interest rates will go down next year and we can think about borrowing. We haven't even talked about a new stadium. I can tell you that I went to most home games and I went to 2 or 3 away games. And I hate to say it this way, but our facilities are lacking big time. I mean, when I go into the men's restroom at our stadium, it's like Neanderthal. And Canton and Central Mountain, I mean, Central Mountain has a plaque there. All these corporate donors that contributed supposedly big bucks for that stadium.
Well, their government gave us $1 million.
Okay, well, whatever. But
More policies
well, I think we
changed
should
on
work on
that,
that.
correct?
Do some fundraising with corporations and
So
stuff.
we can maybe get some donations.
yes,
Yes.
but we gotta, I mean, you know, these boys did, not just football, they all deserve more than what we're giving them right now. And here's another way that we can use some of this savings to reallocate toward very needed facilities, sports facilities. You know, the stadium, I think, the new stadium up top, I think would just be wonderful.
I don't think you have the space for it. You don't have the parking. You know, there's no reason to move the stadium. You can do a new stadium and do it right where it's at, but,
Get new turf and maybe
Turf's
update some of
dangerous.
those buildings, but I would never agree to close an elementary school and put money into athletics, ever.
Well, I don't
I'm a
think,
huge fan, you know that.
yeah, I don't think anybody's saying that.
But that's what you just said about the $1 million we would save and put it into, that's what you just said.
I'm trying to look at the big picture.
Well,
The
so
big
am I.
picture includes all this stuff.
hey, Penn State still uses grass. We use grass, so
Yeah.
we're right up there.
Well, okay, everybody can disagree on whether it's grass or turf. You're missing the point. Milton just put, was it 14.1 million?
Stadium and, that was stadium and addition.
Yeah.
But isn't that a community center too, or not at Milton? Montgomery's is, I don't know about.
Not sure.
The question is, are we just going to prod along? Are we going to have vision that goes out 6, 8, 10 years? And if we're going to be just looking only to the end of our nose, then we can be very short term and we're going to miss the boat.
What percentage of our students are in athletics?
What percentage of students are in Milton's athletics or Central Mountain's athletics?
I don't care about there. We're talking about Jersey Shore. I'm just asking the question to put it in perspective.
So do you think we're different? We have a different percentage versus other schools.
They certainly have a different clientele as far as businesses and stuff that help support them.
We haven't even tried yet. We haven't even tried.
Oh, they did for the track many years back and it fizzled right out. But I'm not saying you don't try because I'm one that said a couple of times, we should get a committee, we should get a committee together, and to me it should be some of our some of our retired football coaches, retired wrestling coaches. They're the ones that can talk up the game and go to those corporations and probably get some. But we don't have any mechanism in place, to the best of my knowledge, that we can allow that to happen. Or can they just do anything they want on their own?
No,
Well, we changed the policy now so that we can.
So we could
start that
we could ask for a committee or something. I mean, we could go to some of those people and ask them to kind of take on that challenge and see what we come up with. I mean, I'm okay for something like that.
I'd like to add something. I think there's a sense of bulldog pride, and I think there's a sense of community when we all go to the football game. And I think there's pride when our fields look good. Right now, our football field looks nice for a grass field. You know, and I know like rescheduling a game for Thursday because of rain really saved our community money by not having to redo those fields. And I think that was nice one. Because that was PIAA. Did they not make that decision?
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, so that was nice that we didn't have to pay to have that done. But I think the bigger picture, what Wayne is saying is that the savings is money that can be used for the students outside of what they get from their education. So whatever that's extra go to the students, regardless if they're the players, because we do have amazing athletes that go on to Penn State. And one of the things that's great about it is that we get to tag along because we went to the game, we watched them, we followed them. Like I follow my favorite sports team, which is Manchester United. I am not qualified to play with Manchester United, but I love watching the game. When I watch the game and they do a hat trick, I feel it. Like I love that. I think that's what we get when we go to the football game. You know, we have our mascot now. The mascot makes the difference in our game, like we had talked about. But I think what Wayne is saying, putting money aside, saving money is just for improvements we can make, not just to put a roof on, the things that you don't see, the things that students don't realize, you know, like as parents, when we say, you live under my roof, I pay the bills, they don't see that. However, when we have that extra money to go do stuff, we all participate, even if it's just going to the movies or whatever it is. I think that's what Wayne is talking about, putting money in, getting money aside, saving money. So then when the chemistry teacher needs something for the chemistry class, it's available. with safety equipment, like tonight when Serena asked to order helmets, it was helmets and pads. All I could think of was, how do we say no to safety equipment? It's safety equipment, it's necessary. So, to say that I want to put sports ahead of education, neither. My passion is art. I mean, art is always on the back burner because it's art. It's not considered, something you're going to use in the future possibly, or however you want to see it. However, art changes your perspective. Art is necessary, I feel. But I think that any kind of savings, and I think Wayne, I agree with him. It's very nice to have something in front of us that's cohesive, that we can see something moving forward. And like you said, you move to the next one, and then you move to the next one, and you can see the change. And to me, football field is just a small glimpse that we don't have right now to even fathom or dream about. So we don't have that. We don't have that possibility in our budget.
So if we do this pilot thing and we move fourth and fifth to Avis, what are the major renovations or projects we need to do to move them into there? So you're saying that we don't have to change anything in them classrooms?
No. I will double check the size of those kindergarten rooms, but I'm pretty positive that the Hunt study said they were all the same size. I'll double check it.
Part of the thing, Mike, on that, you think about we say about the kindergarten rooms. Well, they're all small desks and stuff in there, but the reality is those small desks are going to JSE where the kindergarten kids are going, and the fourth grade desks and the fifth grade desks coming out of JSE and Salzburg are going to, so that kind of stuff, it's a matter of putting them where they mean to be. As far as, you're gonna check as far as there's anything construction-wise that would need to be done.
So
I have a couple of questions. First off, where do we stand with the audit for last year?
The audit is scheduled to be presented at the next board meeting.
Thank you. Two, oh, not in my head. The feds just had a meeting again, correct?
Who just had a meeting?
The feds, what was the result of that?
They raised interest rates 0.75%.
They raised it 0.75%.
And they plan on doing it again, probably around the first of the year.
And third, I'm going to throw this out there because we're talking about saving money, and there was talk about not wanting to raise taxes, etc. I honestly would like to see what the numbers looked like with the non-operation of SAL, and including even a tax increase to the index, to see what monies would come in then for more capital projects or other budgetary items, because we're going down that road very shortly with budget talks. And so if even, I would even say not even to the index, to half of the index,
Kayla, hold on a minute. Do we know the index at this point?
I don't know our particular index. The base index was 4.1.
And usually ours is higher.
Yes,
Right.
I would assume.
Just for information,
Well, yeah.
because that's what you're talking
And
about.
I would even say, half of the standard 4.1 or whatever, so that there would even be a clearer picture on what we may have to spend fiscally. Because if we're talking about,
So I guess I'm trying to get clarity on what you're asking. I think you're talking about and the only reason I'm asking the question, I think you're talking about the 23-24 budget. And you like to look at the numbers presented without Sallyburg being in there?
yes, like we would be saving those funds, the 1 million or whatever. But what if we had a tax increase on top of that? what would,
How much more would that give us?
how
to-
much more would that give us?
So what we can do as we go forward with our budget process is we'll build the budget as normal. We're gonna build the budget as we're operating today. We can create a one sheet saying, and we did this from the last time we discussed it, saying, okay, if we do a reconfiguration, these are the staff these are the positions that would be eliminated. I only caution you that I would prefer if we started looking at that once we got the retirement letters in. That way then if we started earlier than that, we're gonna have a lot of guessing of, well, we might have to pay furlough costs with this one, we might have to pay that. But if we do it, once we get the retirement letters in and start looking at, which will be March 1st, then we'll have an idea, okay, here are our attritional savings positions that Mrs. Thomas was speaking to earlier, and this is what the savings would be. You have a choice of you replace the staff member, or you don't replace the staff. And the operating costs, is like Mr. Allen was saying, that's in the buildings and grounds, and I probably would leave it roughly $100,000. Probably it's not, if you would reconfigure, depends on what you do with the building, you probably would keep the temperature set at 72 degrees day in and day out.
No, you can put it at
So it would
55.
be slightly savings
Or
there, but it
60.
wouldn't be a lot.
What,
And then we talk about revenue, we'll look at revenue, and I'll give you.
hypothetical question, this I guess goes to you. At what point would you like to see a final decision made to move forward? I mean, can we wait to March, or we get that done a little bit earlier and we decide positions after the whole thing is?
Well, I would definitely like more than just the summer to pull this off.
Yeah, well, I was thinking February, but I understand March comes in, so you don't have to talk about savings or attritional savings until March, but you still can start moving forward if that's what the direction that we're gonna go.
Map out the hearing process, because you're still, even though you're not officially closing it, you're effectively closing it because you're not educating students in that building.
He told us we didn't need to because of reconfiguration.
If we were only talking reconfiguration, I didn't have the details of what reconfiguration looks like.
So we gotta keep fifth grade there for 1 year and then worry about.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that was my mistake from not asking Brian that. He asked me if we needed to have a hearing if we did reconfiguration. I did not ask what reconfiguration looked like.
Oh, okay. Well, that puts a little bit of a different spin on the whole thing.
Correct. I mean, I'll double check all of that.
What is that? You're saying you'll double check the timeline.
The timeline.
No, he's
and
saying
just
that whether we
confirming-
need a hearing or
and
not,
we're
because you were
having
under the
any
impression.
students at all, I think that's under the definition of the code, that's effectively closing a school because you're not educating students in that building. And so there would have to be a closure.
Caveat is we're trying a pilot. How far can we go?
All of those notes are in my mind when I
Well,
look.
because the reason I am questioning that is because there's ramifications to reopening if you vote to close.
Correct.
That's why I initially agreed with your other opinion.
We like that one better.
know you do.
Can we play dumb? No, I'm serious.
I believe
I
there's
just want to make sure we're on the same page so nobody's, I'll have an answer by tomorrow.
I believe that's a 60-day? From 1 to 2?
Correct.
Okay.
So, would you like to have this on the December 5th meeting that we continue this conversation? Or would you like some answers and then move the public conversation to January? I'm asking you. I mean, we have had a number of questions here that we need to have a few answers to, that some of them are some of them you can't totally answer, but you can start that direction to answer.
Well, I think this has drug out a long time now, so
Not compared to what other
I
things
know,
have.
but I'm saying it seems like we get nowhere with this most of the time. And I think if we can continue to keep this going.
Someone made a comment, Mike, about bringing the teachers on board. I know you've talked to principals. is there an in-service day coming up where there could be just conversations that teachers might have some questions?
Parent-teacher conference days next week, but
That's not, I mean, they
It's
don't
not-
have time to,
yeah.
the elementary teachers don't have time to.
Chance for the parents.
I know some teachers that are for consolidation.
Yeah, I think you're a
Especially
board
JSASD.
member and will think objectively, but deep down in my heart, I have 2 kids in elementary school that didn't.
And I'm surprised after this, they won't be. I'm surprised that there weren't people here because it was on the agenda to discuss the work session. So they must have not thought we were real serious at that point, but I can believe that there will. And if the direction is that we're going to close schools, they have to be. I mean, we have to have meetings with parents, but maybe the PTOs can be brought into, they have meetings monthly, most of them, that we can throw out some questions to parents. Obviously, when they first hear it, most of them are not going to like it. Then you got to take a deep breath and say, can it work for me or doesn't it? One of the things that reconfiguration does is you do not have, when you get to 5th grade, you do not have all the kids coming from different areas because they've already been with them. That's one of the things we hear a lot of times. They're going to a different grade level, but they're not going to different clientele of their friends. So there's all kinds of things, and that's probably a good thing. So we can highly recommend that they come and talk in courtesy of the floor on these issues. Maybe we can put it out as part of the conversations. I mean, do we want to put a survey out to parents, or do we want them to come in and talk?
that was gonna be my question. How do you want to get that input?
Or do you want to do a combination?
That's what I think you should do. Combination.
Get the survey out, and after the first of the year, then let them come in. Because if you send the survey to all parents, then they're going to say, okay, something's going on here, and they'll immediately start to say, how does it affect me? And then I would hope they would start coming, but they're open to any meeting to come to.
So the survey is going to go to parents, not taxpayers. How are you going to get it to everybody?
Well, the purpose of this survey that we're talking about is to get a feeling from parents how they feel about changing their kids. Taxpayers are welcome too. Those people have already somewhat been here, but I mean, they can come anytime.
Right, so this is just for parents.
We're looking to see if we're missing something that parents are seeing or would see on the negative that we're not necessarily seeing. We're not necessarily looking for them to make the decision that we do it or not do it. Most of the time you see it from your own perspective. So they may see it totally different. The parents may see it totally different, that we didn't even think about things. Now sometimes those are things that can be overcome. Sometimes there's things that can't be overcome.
Teachers as well. Right?
Yeah.
Well,
That's why that's when an in-service that they can have a conversation. You have a professional development committee, can it meet? And you have quite a few teachers on that, and and I think all grade levels, right?
Mm-hmm.
Might be missing a lot of things. that they could
are you
do,
just
but-
looking to survey in particular those who are going to be affected? Or are you looking to survey the entire community? That's what I think Jesse's referring to when she says the
You can do a
taxpayer.
combination of both, but I think somehow you'd want to be able to separate their answers. I mean, you'd want to know from the parent perspective, and you'd want to know different from the community perspective. Because I don't think they'll have the same issues.
Then do you want to ask the parents that were parents when they closed Nipponos school? Because, I mean, they lived it.
Well, the hard thing is it affects everybody throughout the district. It does affect taxpayers. It affects parents that might not be taxpayers. It affects parents that are taxpayers. So I guess my thought is that everybody has an opinion, and
Well, I guess that's part of the
like, come here, please, and voice.
that could be part of the survey too. Are you a parent? Are
Good
you?
question. Like,
Wasn't the last time that there was a vote, was there any surveys done at that point? Because the reason I say that is I went to a number of the hearings and they seem fairly well attended. It would seem like,
It
Once-
seemed,
once the word-
sometimes I
once the
thought it
word
seemed
gets out.
one-sided attended, but
I'm sorry?
sometimes I think it seemed one-sided attended. I'd like to hear from a broader group of people. But I don't know how you can force that.
I was in Lancaster and I heard about it during me, so like, it was.
No, but if you were in Lancaster, you weren't up here voicing your opinion.
No, but I heard about it and I knew it was going on. I mean, but it's just sort of like, I don't.
Wayne, I honestly don't know if they did surveys. I mean, they do surveys for this, and I honestly don't know.
because there was a number of hearings, I mean,
Right, because you had to have 2 for Avis and 2 for Salzburg. You had to have 2 for each one of them because of
Dr. Omer, what is your opinion? Because you're probably the one that's gonna have to navigate most of that.
I don't
So,
know
I mean,
anything either,
with
but I also
your
know that the meetings that I attended, it was basically one-sided. Somebody got up and talked about the other side, they were
I
kind
don't
of
know
like
what, say that
thrown out the
again.
door.
Like, what is your opinion? Because I mean, you're the ones gonna have to navigate it, I guess is my question. Like, and you were busy.
I mean, like from the survey?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, it's not, to me, creating a survey is not, creating and pushing out a survey is not that
Right.
difficult. And my question was, I heard Mrs. Thomas say, after the first of the year, is that the timeline that you're thinking? Like,
Well, I think it'd be too fast to do it before then.
because I think the thing that's time consuming is creating the survey to make sure you get the questions asked that you want asked. Like it's not just are you in agreement or not? Like,
Right.
I think you guys want some detailed information, which means that the survey questions have to be created to give you the information that you're looking for. So that's where I'm gonna have to start, is creating survey questions to share with you so that you see, you're gonna have to probably look at the survey at least once, if not twice, to make sure that you're getting the information back that you're asking.
All right, so 1, 2.
I have another kind of question, but kind of request. Can we put together a sponsorship, donation, whatever committee by the first of the year so that, I mean, I feel like that's another thing that's been kicked down the road is, well, we blamed it on that there was a policy that was in place that wouldn't allow it. Well, now the policy has changed. And now, I mean, we can't create revenue if we don't get out there and in front of people. So yeah, that great big wall at Keystone Central looked amazing, but
it just doesn't happen.
exactly.
It takes some work.
Right,
Exactly. So now is the time to put that committee in place and do the work. Like, we changed the policy. That was step 1. Here is step 2, whether it's
Yes,
for an
people out there that will do
athletic, or, I mean, I don't know how Keystone Central does their funding.
It's on the
To
website.
go get,
I mean, but as far as the committee goes, who is
Especially the
part of the
big
committee? Who is, the one soliciting the funds? What are the laws? What are we? I mean, there's still gonna be laws, even if we changed policy, there's going to be rules and regulations. What do we have to offer them? Like, there are things that need to be put in place and done so that we're not sitting here forking out more expenses and not getting anything in return. So
So can we ask somebody in the community if they wanna do that?
We have a committee that did the policy. Does the committee that did the policy want to start moving forward with that?
I mean, you're gonna need somebody in the community.
No, but I mean, I agree with you there, Nancy. What I'm saying is you as the committee that did the policy say, okay, this is what we're looking for. We're looking for some community members that would be willing to come and help support us. And to me, the graduates of the school, old coaches, retired coaches, I shouldn't say old coaches, retired coaches of any of the sports, I think they would be, they know They know the turf and what's here and what's not here and what's needed.
As far as a committee member that changed that policy, I mean, I'm not going to speak for Patrice or Mike, but I think that is something that also could be a full, like, I would like a full board. I don't know everybody that Michelle knows in the community. If there were recommendations of, hey, you know, you should reach out to this person, or, I mean, Jesse has a different outreach as far as like the farming community goes than I have. Even professional corporate people, like, I don't know the head person at First Quality to walk in there and be like, hey, you want to, you know, buy this to help, you know, give us money? Like, so I feel like we would definitely need direction as far as.
You're gonna need direction as to why you're asking for the money too, because.
Yeah, what is it that we're going to
Right,
do?
so
Right.
is it gonna be for sports? Is it gonna be for?
General fund?
Yeah, or a library project or whatever, buying books or, you know what I mean?
Right.
So that's how we did it at where I work.
Yeah,
'Cause
you
it
can
was
put your
for-
dreams down on paper, like we want a football field, we want a soccer field, we
Right.
want, and then you can take one at a time and go after them, or you can just say it's all one, and then you have an argument of, okay, we'll get what gets what first. So I mean, if you take and create, this is our dream, how do we get to it and where do we start? Because they're not gonna go out and immediately raise $10 million. They could, that would be nice.
But I think it would be good to have at least a committee of this board steering it, so that you could come back and say to the rest of the board, this is our dream, this is the way we're pushing the committee in this direction. You could bring other people into that group outside of the board, but I think it's helpful to have those 3 board members or whoever it is, somebody from this group who's able to come back and provide updates and
Well, I
push
think
the
you need to
committee.
get a specific person, either in the community or like.
Right, that they would run.
That, I mean, I don't know if he is with the bank and stuff like that, that would head it and do the
We need a sales.
donations and,
Car salesman.
No, literally a sales.
It's the, to be
You
the
can
chair.
put a little ad in the weekly and saying, this is what we're looking, see how many respond to you. Then start looking through them, see, is this a worthwhile to look at these community people? I mean, we could also state something here too, but I mean, you need to have some way to gather the data.
Dillon's Grove actually has something right on their website to donate for. Now, this is a project to improve their athletic field. And then they have people donating, and they have like the different steps, like if you donate so much and you get this, and
Well, one, I think, go back to
That's
Mr.
Dylan
Allen's
Grove.
comment, something that the committee needs to do is determine what is the thing, or the things that we're going to do.
Yeah, before you go out, and then you can have someone from the public be in charge of that fundraising part of it, then once you make the decision. So everyone go out and look at Stillman's Grove so they can see what they, I mean, there's probably other ones out there, but that's one that we know that's there. Okay, so we want to continue this on December the 5th, we're really not supposed to have that, but,
We have it advertised as a regular meeting,
okay, all right.
so we will have a regular meeting. We'll reorg.
You'll have 2 meetings that night is what you're gonna have. All right, next is courtesy of the floor. Items not on the agenda. Pat, would you like to say something?
So,
I'm being smart.
Mary, I wanted to say something else too, because
Jesse Edwards, come on now.
Dr. Ulmer let me down. I wanted to recognize the Heartland youth football players and cheerleaders. This weekend, the Division B football players defeated Selinsgrove 20-0. So they will be going on to their championship.
So when you say Heartland, is that our kids or?
It's yes, it's,
It's almost
kinda-
like a traveling team type thing.
well, it's kind of like the Pop Warner,
Okay,
the
okay.
4th, 5th, 6th grade kids. And along those lines, the cheerleaders went to a competition in Mechanicsburg on Saturday. Our cheerleader Group A placed second. The B level girls took 4th place, and our little flag cheerleaders, kindergarten and first graders took 2nd place as well. So I just wanted to give them a shout out. They did amazing this year. And football players do play again this weekend. I don't know offhand the time or place. But if you go on Facebook or wherever, I'm sure you'll be able to find it. And they would really appreciate all your support, along with our big kids who are playing in
Big
Williamsport.
kids play at Williamsport Friday at 7 against Allentown Central Catholic. Well, my apologies, I didn't write that down, that's why I
Well,
forgot.
that's kind, I figured that. So, but thank you.
Is Bear Country doing it again or not?
I
Did they-
do not know that
Okay.
yet.
Anything else for the good of the order? There will be no executive session.
I have a request that we somehow advertise NFHS. People don't know about it. I was speaking to.
Oh, yeah, I don't think they probably don't.
Yeah, they don't. And I was speaking to somebody in the bleachers the other night, and I said about NFHS program. They had no clue. And I told her what it was all involved in, and she said, I didn't know anything about it. My daughter-in-law was sitting beside me. I didn't hear anything about it either, so.
Because we also have it in the gym, right?
We do, and I know we have, but it's one of those things that needs to, you don't tell people in time.
Wanna, raise awareness of that.
Huh.
Sorry,
Nope, I wrote a note. So I remember.
May I have a motion to adjourn? Adjourn.